Good morning, children. I hope you understood the last class video. I took a large portion in the last class and I can understand that it was difficult for you to follow it. Therefore, today I will cover a small portion so that you can understand better. Okay? In the last class video, we learned the base of history and the primary source, right? Okay, let's recall the primary source. Under primary source, we have inscription, monument, and coins. So, what do you mean by inscription? Inscriptions are writings encarved on solid surface such as rocks, stones, temple, walls, and metals. What do you mean by monument? A statue, building, or other structure erected to a notable person or event is called monument. What do you mean by coins? The picture and the legend on the coins convey the names of kings with their titles and portrays events, place, date, dynasties, and logos. So, what will come under primary sources? Inscription, monument, and coins. Now, let's learn the secondary source. What do you mean by secondary source? The second person who gives information is called secondary source. Okay? Under secondary source, we have literary works, chronicles, travelogues, biographies, and autobiographies. What will come under secondary source? Literary works, chronicles, travelogues, biographies, and autobiographies. In this video, I will cover a small portion and I will try to cover literary works, biographies, and autobiographies. As I told you, under secondary source we have literary works, chronicles, travelogues, biographies, and autobiographies. So, now first we'll look through literary works. This literary work is classified into two. They are religious literature and secular literature. First, we look at religious literature. What do you mean by religion? It is one of the identity of a person. For example, you may be a Christian, you can be a Hindu, you can be a Muslim. So these are religion. What do you mean by literature? It is a book of information. Okay, if we join together what is religious literature, which means religion is a identity and literature is a book. So if we combine religious and literature together, it means a book which contain religious information, right? It is a book which contain information about a particular religion. For example, for Christians we have Bible. For Muslims we have Quran. For Hindus we have Gita, right? So this is called religious literature. Now let's go to the text. Devotional movement in South India and later in North resulted in the development of Bhakti or devotional literature. What do you mean by devotional? Devotional means Bhakti. Okay, this devotional movement or Bhakti movement was started from South India and slowly it spreaded through North. So now with this development is called Bhakti or devotional literature. The Chola period was known as the period of devotional literature. So this Chola period is also known as devotional literature. Some of the devotional literature during Chola period are Kamba Ramayanam, Seklas Periya Puranam, Nalayira Divya Prabandham, composed by 12 alvars and compiled by Nadamuni. What do you mean by compose? A person who write a book or start a book are called composer. What do you mean by compiled? For example, you have many toys in your home. Okay, these toys are shattered here and there. Your mom is torturing you to clean the place. What will you do? You will arrange the toys. So that arrangement is called compiled. So, Kamba Ramayanam, Sekila's Periya Puranam, Nalayira Divya Prabandham was written by 12 Alvars and it was arranged by Nadamuni. What do you mean by literature? A book which contains information. So the next literature is Devaram, composed by Appar, Sambandar and Sundarar and compiled by Nambiyandar Nambi. So Devaram was written by Appar, Sambandar and Sundarar and it was arranged by Nambiyandar Nambi. Next, Jayadeva's Gita Govindam. So his work was Gita Govindam. He also followed Bhakti movement. During 15th century, Kabir Das, a mystic poet, also influenced on Bhakti movement. So the two poets were influenced by Bhakti movement. Who are they? Jayadeva and Kabir Das. Don't forget. Who are the two poets who were influenced by Bhakti movement? They are Jayadeva and Kabir Das. So, in literary work, we finished religious literature. What do you mean by religious literature? It is a book which contains information about particular religion. For example, Quran of Muslim, Gita of Hindu, and Bible of Christian. Next, we look at secular literature. So, in religious literature, we always connect with spiritual activities. But in secular literature, we doesn't connect with spiritual matter. It is just a book of fiction or non-fiction. It's just a storybook. It is not connected with spiritual matter. Okay, that is called secular literature. Under secular literature, Madhura Vijayam and Amukta Malyada. These two are the poems written by Ganga Devi and Krishna Devaraya. Okay, this two poem is all about the events and individual connection with Vijayanagara Emperor. So this poem is all about individual connection with Vijayanagara Emperor and whatever events are conducted inside the Vijayanagara Emperor, that is also mentioned in this poem. The next poem is Prithviraj Raso, which was written by Chand Bardai. This poem talks about a Rajput king's courage of action in the battle or war. Turkish invasion of India was not recorded in Indian account. During pre-Islamic period, the secular literature was Kalhana's Raj Tarangini, which was during 11th century. So, under secondary source, we learnt literary works. Literary work is classified into two, religious literature and secular literature. Religious literature means it is a book which contains information about a particular religion. For example, Quran of Muslim, Gita of Hindu and Bible of Christian. Secular literature means literature which are not connected with spiritual matter. Okay. Under secondary source, the next topic is biography and autobiography. What do you mean by biography? Someone's life written by someone else. If my life history is written by someone else, that is called biography. What do you mean by autobiography? Person's life written by that person itself. If my life history is written by myself, then that is called autobiography. Minhaj Siraj's famous work is Tabaqat-e Nazri. After the conquest of Muhammad Ghori, that is AD 1260, number of works were organized by Muhammad Ghori. During 13th century, Hasan Nizami, a traveller from Ghazni, wrote Tajul Mazar. This was written at the end of Iltutmish's rule. This work is considered as the first official history of Delhi Sultan. And Taj-ul-Mazir contains information about Qutb-uddin Aibak. Let me repeat. Hasan Nizami is a traveler from Ghazni, so he wrote Tajul Mazir. This was written at the end of Iltutmish rule. This work is the first official history of Delhi Sultan. Okay, this work contains information about Qutb Uddin Aibak. Sia ud Barni, a courtier of Muhammad Tughlaq. What do you mean by courtier? A person who works in court. So this Muhammad Tughlaq wrote Tariq Firoz Shahi. This work is all about the history of Delhi Sultan from Ghiyas Uddin Balban. And the last work under biography and autobiography is Ferishta Tariq Ferishta during 16th century. This is about the history of the rise of the Mughal power in India. So we have looked through 3 books. First one is Tajul Mazir, which was written by Hasan Nizami. The second one is Tariq Firoz Shahi, which was written by Muhammad Tughlaq. And the third one is Ferishta Tariq Ferishta, which was written during 16th century. Children, under secondary source we have literary work, chronicles, travelogue, biographies and autobiographies. In this video I have completed literary work, biographies and autobiographies. In the next class I will complete chronicles and travelogues. Thank you children. Recall whatever I have taught you. Okay.